Hey everyone, the most significant severe weather event of the year so far is about to unfold across the United States, and it's shaping up to be a dangerous and widespread outbreak. We're looking at the potential for an array of severe weather threats, including widespread damaging winds, very large hail, and numerous tornadoes, some of which could be strong and long-tracked. This is a situation that demands attention, so in today's forecast, I'll walk you through everything you need to know about these two major severe weather outbreaks that will take place over the next 48 hours. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Let's start with the immediate risk for today, which has intensified since earlier forecasts. Not only have the probabilities for severe weather increased, but the overall risk area has also expanded. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk for severe weather, which is a 4 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, covering a large portion of the central United States. This includes most of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and stretches down into parts of Tennessee and Kentucky. Major metro areas like St. Louis, Missouri are right in the bullseye for this severe weather outbreak later this afternoon, where the combination of damaging winds and elevated tornado risk could make this a particularly dangerous hotspot. Beyond that, an enhanced risk extends down into the Dixie region, and the overall area under marginal and slight risk stretches all the way from Wisconsin and Minnesota down to the Gulf Coast. The primary concern today is the potential for significant and widespread damaging winds. The atmosphere is primed to produce gusts that could easily reach 90 miles per hour in some areas, and the Storm Prediction Center has outlined a hatched area to highlight this extreme risk. Winds this strong can cause substantial damage. We're talking about the kind of gusts that can rip apart outdoor structures, uproot trees, and send debris flying. If you're in this area, take the time to secure loose objects like patio furniture and trampolines, and if possible, move your vehicle into a garage or protected area to avoid potential hail or wind damage. The threat of these intense winds will really ramp up as we move into the late afternoon and evening hours, and it will remain a widespread risk from the Gulf Coast all the way back into the Midwest. In addition to the wind threat, there's also a significant risk for large to very large hail. This will mostly come from the initial supercells that are expected to develop, particularly along the Mississippi River Valley. Parts of eastern Missouri and western Illinois are right in the heart of this threat zone, where hailstones could reach sizes comparable to baseballs. But even outside of this core region, large hail remains possible across a wide swath of the Midwest, stretching into central Minnesota and extending down toward the Gulf Coast. Perhaps the most alarming development in today's forecast is the increasing tornado risk. As of now, there's a 15% chance of seeing a strong or long-track tornado within a 25-mile radius in parts of southeastern Missouri, southern Illinois, and the St. Louis area. This is an unusually high probability and underscores just how serious the situation is. While this core zone faces the highest risk, the potential for tornadoes extends across a much broader region, from southeastern Iowa and western Illinois all the way down into central Mississippi and Alabama. Even areas shaded in the lower risk zones shouldn't let their guard down. If you're anywhere in the green or brown shaded areas on the severe weather outlook, you should be prepared. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive weather alerts, develop a tornado action plan, and stay ready to take cover if warnings are issued. As we move into Saturday, the severe weather threat shifts to the southeastern United States and the forecast becomes even more concerning. A full-fledged tornado outbreak is expected across eastern Louisiana, central and southern Mississippi, and nearly all of Alabama. Even parts of the Florida Panhandle are included in this elevated risk zone. Given the evolving weather models and the dangerous atmospheric setup, I wouldn't be surprised if the Storm Prediction Center upgrades parts of this region to a high risk for severe weather, the most serious classification they issue. The environment is primed for the development of multiple high-end tornadoes, some of which could be intense and potentially violent. If you're anywhere in the Dixie region on Saturday, it's absolutely crucial to stay vigilant. Mobile home residents should have a plan in place to relocate to a sturdier structure well ahead of any warnings. Once severe thunderstorms or tornado warnings are issued, there may not be enough time to get to safety. Even outside the core moderate risk area, the tornado threat remains elevated, with strong, long-track tornadoes possible as far north as Tennessee and Georgia. Severe weather potential extends into the Ohio Valley as well, including parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania, where damaging winds and isolated tornadoes remain possible. Saturday's weather setup is primed for a substantial and dangerous severe weather outbreak. Conditions will be ideal for the development of strong tornadoes, widespread damaging winds, and very large hail. Given the extent and intensity of this event, It's vital to stay weather aware and prepared. Make sure your emergency supplies are ready, your phone is charged, and you have multiple reliable ways to receive warnings, especially overnight when storms may strike while people are sleeping. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. As we look toward the specific timing of this outbreak, storms will begin firing up in the Midwest later this afternoon, particularly around Iowa and Missouri. By the early evening hours, we expect storms to rapidly intensify and organize, producing widespread damaging winds and the potential for embedded tornadoes within the line of storms. If any of these storms manage to separate from the main line, they could become individual supercells, and that's when the risk for strong, long-track tornadoes will really increase. Heading into the overnight hours, the threat will shift eastward, bringing severe storms into parts of Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. The tornado risk will remain elevated through the night, which is especially dangerous given that many people will be asleep and less likely to respond quickly to warnings. By early Saturday morning, the risk of organized severe storms diminishes in the Ohio Valley, but isolated storms could still pose a tornado threat in Kentucky and Tennessee. By midday Saturday, the severe weather threat intensifies again as supercells fire up in eastern Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. The potential for numerous rotating storms will lead to a heightened risk for strong, long-track tornadoes throughout the afternoon and evening hours. Even after dark, the tornado threat will continue across Alabama and parts of Georgia, making this an unusually prolonged and dangerous severe weather event. The red shaded area on the forecast map is where we're most concerned, but even the surrounding orange zone, which represents an enhanced risk, includes major cities like Atlanta, Huntsville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Nashville, and Clarksville. If you're in any of these areas, and I know a lot of you watching this are, please take this seriously. Start making a plan now for what you'll do if a tornado warning is issued. Know where your safe place is, whether it's a basement, an interior room with no windows, or a storm shelter. We won't have the exact details of the tornado threat until tomorrow, but this looks like a classic setup for long-track, potentially violent tornadoes. There's a real possibility that we'll see multiple tornadoes on the ground at the same time, which is something you never want to hear. If you're in the highlighted risk areas for Saturday, please stay weather aware and be prepared to take action if a warning is issued. Looking ahead to tomorrow's storms, models are showing some really concerning developments. Storms are expected to start firing up sometime between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., and when they do, they're going to intensify rapidly. By 9 or 10 p.m., we're likely to see a solid squall line stretching from Minnesota down into central Missouri, bringing the potential for widespread wind damage. That line is expected to hit the St. Louis area sometime between 10 p.m. and midnight. And what's really alarming is that the latest model runs show the line starting to break up into more discrete cells. If that happens, the tornado threat increases significantly, as those isolated storms have a much higher chance of producing strong, long-lived tornadoes. Even after midnight, this line of storms is going to keep pushing eastward. By early Saturday morning, we could see severe storms impacting parts of the Ohio Valley with damaging winds, large hail, and the continued risk of tornadoes. Farther south, near Memphis and southwestern Kentucky, some of these storms could evolve into supercells, bringing a heightened risk of tornadoes through the overnight hours. One of the most dangerous aspects of this event is how long it's going to last. From the early morning hours on Saturday through the afternoon and evening, we're going to be dealing with wave after wave of severe weather. Alabama looks particularly vulnerable during the early morning hours, with potential supercells developing between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., and that's not even the main event. The real danger comes later in the day when the atmosphere in the warm sector becomes even more unstable. By the time we hit the afternoon and evening hours, we're looking at an environment primed for intense, long-track tornadoes. Everything is lining up for a high-impact, severe weather day, incredible wind shear, high moisture levels, and clear air allowing for storm development. This kind of alignment is rare and extremely concerning. Even after Saturday, the storm system isn't done. By Sunday, the severe weather threat shifts east, bringing the possibility of damaging storms to areas from Pennsylvania down to the Florida Panhandle. Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina could see some significant impacts, though we're still waiting for more details on how that day will play out. Beyond severe weather, this storm system is also going to bring heavy snow and blizzard conditions to parts of the northern U.S. Areas from Nebraska up into Manitoba could see up to 6 inches of snow combined with intense winds, leading to whiteout conditions. Meanwhile, the West Coast is bracing for heavy rain and potential flooding, with Southern California at particular risk. On top of everything else, parts of Kansas and Texas are facing an extreme fire risk due to strong dry winds moving across the plains on Friday. This could be one of the most dangerous fire weather setups we've seen in this region in a long time. I know this is a lot of information and it can feel overwhelming, but the takeaway here is simple. Pay attention to the weather this weekend. Make your plans now so you're ready to take action if a warning is issued. Stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next update. Take care.